This is your new Hip About Health blog. We'll be sharing with you videos as often as possible, giving you some tips and strategies and sharing with you people's stories with interviews with some health experts. And we're starting today off with Gyaviira from Uganda, and he'll be talking about his project, The Movement of Life in Uganda. It is an awesome story. He also shares with you some tips on his life and his journey to where he is now, running one of the most successful health projects, I should say community projects that I have heard of, and it's fantastic. So stay tuned. Here is Gyaviira. Thank you for joining me on this, and I'm really excited about uh, us being able to hear and share what the great work that you're doing in Uganda. It is indeed a privilege knowing you, and I do admire all the hard work and commitment that you've shown in this particular project. But before we get into what the project does, uh, can you share with our audience what your story and what brought you to where you are now?
Okay. Well, Denise, I don't know, but this could be a very long story because it all started. I think I had shared with you a little about what I can call the physical side of it because I had not even known about your spiritual beliefs. So I could not go. Most people, when I meet people for the very first time, I normally don't share the side of the spiritual side because I feel maybe they won't understand me. So I leave it myself until when I get people who understand things of the spirit, and that's when I share the other side. So it all started in 2006. I told you when my young sister was suffering from ovarian cancer. So during that time, uh, uh, it disturbed me because I was wondering why the, cancer does not have cure. Actually, it was my first time to hear about a disease that doesn't have cure. That is in 2006. I was a very young boy. And one day, as I was going to collect firewood, I had, because my sister first died the lower part, starting from the trunk here. So she died gradually. So she used to call me to press her feet. And I think the Lord uh, felt it in my heart with those questions of why cancer has no cure. So that day I was going to collect firewood, and the voice told me fruits of a plant. It's called Lanceolata fosic, botanically called Lanceolata fosic, that its fruits can heal cancer. So when I heard it, unfortunately, I didn't know that it was a voice. I thought maybe someone told me. So I didn't understand it. I didn't do anything about it. So I just thought someone told me, and I was unable to act at all until when my sister died. So I didn't do anything. I just kept quiet. But it kept in my mind that someone told me fruits of Lanceolata fosic can heal cancer. So I let it go. Then I was in my secondary school. I completed senior four. After that, and I used like an African boy, I used to get my school fees from extracting stones. So time came I could not manage and had to leave my village to another area to look for a simple job where I can get money and then complete my high school so that I can maybe, God willing, join university. So when I reached, but the job I got was to work as a gatekeeper at some school. So during the course of time is when the school owner identified that when children would come from class, they would come to play with me. One, I was a young boy, and two, I loved children. Three, I knew English, unlike other people who do such jobs who don't know English. So children would come to play with me. So when she identified it, one day she called me and told me, you know what? Why don't you go and study teaching and be a teacher?
Okay.
But so when she was telling me that, in my mind, I used to think that I would do something, not even in the health area, because I was a person who loved things of physics.
Right, right.
So I thought I would go into that area and do something that would stand maybe the test of time. I loved things of innovating. So that's where I used to think that I would innovate from, and maybe would, because I thought after senior six I would maybe join the army and go into aviation system there in the army.
Okay.
That's that's what I used to think. So when she brought an idea of going to be a teacher, I didn't love it because I had never seen any teacher do anything of that kind. So I refused. I refused. And when but I refused. I didn't tell her because she was an elder, and I respected her, so I feared making her angry. I just kept quiet, but in the heart I had refused.
Right.
So first, later, weeks passed, and then she came with the same idea another time. When she told me another time, I decided to give in such that I make her happy.
Right,
It
right.
was so I didn't know that the Holy Spirit was leading me somewhere. So I when I gave in, but unfortunately I could not go to in the teacher training there is what we call pre-service and then in-service
Okay.
programs. Where pre-service you go, you are trained before you go to teaching, and then when you graduate is when you go to teach. Then
Mhm.
pre-service for that one, that program had been put there for people who had gone to teach but had not been trained. So I
Right.
was enrolled into the in-service program because I had been outside the education system for 2 years.
Mm.
So when I was enrolled and I started learning teaching, there is in-service student would get outreach tutors. So there is this tutor who used to train teachers at this school where I used to work as a gatekeeper. So this tutor was a friend to the school owner.
Yeah.
So because they were friends, the school owner had loved me. She decided that I be connected to that friend tutor so that I could be helped better. So what happened there? But because this tutor was managing schools which are not even this school where I was. So they manage schools in sub counties. Here we have local government systems where you have systems of local council 1, 2, 3, up to 5. So for up to local council 3 is regarded as a sub county. So these schools would be divided in sub counties. So this tutor was managing a sub county that is different from a sub county where my school was. So I was
Right.
called to shift to her sub county. So now I changed my job from being a gatekeeper now to being a teacher. So this tutor got me this tutor got me a school, and I was to teach, but as I was being trained as a teacher. So when I reached at her home, I found that her children, most the girl children, were asthmatic. Even her husband was also asthmatic. But I remembered that my brother had given some girl some medicine, some local medicine for asthma, and this girl got healed. So when I found these girls asthmatic, I called my brother and he told me about those plants. Then I collected them, gave to these girls, and they got healed. Actually, I didn't know that asthma also didn't have a cure. I didn't know it. I knew it during that time. So after that, I kind of become the family doctor now because every time someone would have a problem, they would come to me. so so life continued until when one of her daughters had cervical cancer. And then time came, it wasn't, and they decided to carry out hysterectomy to remove the entire uterus so that cancer would maybe not spread to other parts. So when I heard that they were going to take her through an operation, I got scared. Reason being, when my sister was sick, but when she went through surgery, she died quickly. So when I was told that this girl was also going to undergo operation, I knew she was going to die quickly. I didn't have any scientific background, but intuitively, that's what I thought. She would die quickly. So when I thought about it, but I remembered that someone had told me that fruits of Lanceolata faucet can cure cancer. So I told the mother that why don't we try plant medicine? When I said that word, I had not even decided to do it. She said, "Teacher, you are going to heal my daughter because you healed Nancy. She also was asthmatic." And when she told me that, I became strong and decided to put in practice that very one that someone told me, but I didn't know who told me.
Right.
So so I requested her to look for those fruits, and she sent for them. They brought them home. Then I pounded them and had to dry them indoors in my room until when they were powdery. Then we sent them to the girl. She had a lot of tumors inside her belly. The whole belly was swollen already. And 2 weeks later, they burst.
Mm.
So when they burst and she had a lot of discharge and she felt relieved, when she told the mother told her, "You come to the village and you stay with the doctor now." So she had to come from the city. Actually, fortunately, she was doing lab technology and specifying into biology. So she had better understanding of science. I didn't have any. So she came until when she recovered. Now God has blessed her with 4 children. She now has 4.
Wow. Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
So now, from there is when almost everything started. Because she had a background of science and she had a lot of connection with her lecturers who had a lot of research in science and most especially into incurable diseases. And that's when she began bringing a lot of people who had a lot of issues. And mostly I would ask her, how does this disease affect? So I would need to know how it happens, and then immediately I would get to know the cure.
Right.
But during that time, I thought it was my wisdom because I didn't know about God. Along the way, I later thought that God does not exist because I passed through a lot of hard life and began to think, if God is there, then why is he not helping me?
Mm.
So I later concluded that he does not exist because I had never heard him speak, neither do anything. So I said, God does not exist. So during that time, I didn't know about God. So among the people that this girl brought was one who had uterine fibroids. So she told me a story of how fibroids affect the person and how they exist and the stuff. Then immediately, imagine every time I would think about a plant, I would just give it to a person and they be healed. So time came and this girl who had fibroids had had an appointment with her doctor and they had planned the surgery as well. So later, this doctor actually is even a pastor. And by the time I met him, I didn't know about God. So I could not even think about anything outside what I used to think. So she was, this doctor was even a lecturer at a local university here. So now, when he called the girl for an operation, this girl told him that she had gotten healed.
Mm.
So this doctor wondered how she could get healed of uterine fibroids, yet they don't have conventional cure.
Mm.
So
Right.
he got interested in finding out what exactly was taking place. So he invited her to tell him about how she got the healing. And that is how she, actually I had never even met her because I just sent her medicine. I was staying in the village.
Mm-hmm.
Then she told her that a friend, Rachel, is the one who connected her to someone who gave her medicine. And that is how Rachel contacted me that the doctor wanted to speak with me about cure for fibroids. But because I used to, I used to hear that when you get medicine for an incurable disease, you may be killed. I even didn't know about these. It is now that I have found out the truth, but previously I didn't know, but I used to hear it. So I feared going there.
Right.
And the doctor insisted, and this Rachel confirmed to me that this doctor was her pastor and has no problem. So so when I met this doctor and he was asking me how I find out these medicines, so I told him I get to know the disease and then I think of a plant by its characteristics. I didn't want to tell him that I get it by intuitively.
Yeah.
Even then, I could not even understand it that I was getting it intuitively. I used to think that I would think about it.
Right. Right.
So when I explained, he failed to understand things. And he said, for me, can't imagine how one can think of a disease and then they get to know the plant and this plant really cures. So he said, now I have nothing I can do, but what I'm going to do for you, I'm going to get a student who is doing pharmacology and they work on your medicine as their final project research. So, and that is what he did and gave me one of the students and I prepared the medicine the way I used to prepare it and gave it to her, then until when she came out with everything, the research report and how the conclusions of how this medicine can cure fibroids. So I continued my life. I had nothing to do with it. Life continued. Then I had finished my teaching course. I was teaching in one of the local schools, and one day I happened to participate in some competition regarding innovation, and I took there that project that I
Oh.
wanted to make. Yeah, I wanted to make this medicine, modify it, make it better, and make it branded better. Maybe make tablets out of it and all that. That's what I had taken there. So unfortunately, I didn't manage to go through. because I had no scientific background. I could not support my argument. I could not win. And I came to learn later that God had taken me there uh, uh, to help me get some self-esteem, because I was very shy then. I was very shy. I was very timid because of the life I had gone through. I was a village boy.
Yeah.
So so later after there, I continued with my medicines. But from that side, I became very proud. I became very proud. I thought I was very wise, because I thought this was my wisdom. And later, when I became so wise, and it was exceedingly a problem, I think the medicine which used to cure stopped curing. So I
Mm.
would give it to people, and they could not be healed.
Right.
And I could not think why. And because I had even thought in my I had gone back to my vision of building something that can stay even when I'm no longer there.
Mm.
And I had thought I would build it in medicine,
Mm-hmm.
in those medicines, and making them better. Uh, so when these medicines were no longer healing, I found out that this was no longer again possible. And during that time, God connected me to a girl, and I married her. So I didn't know that this girl was to bring me back to life, because she tormented me and later left me.
Okay.
So when she left me, I became so much stressed, because the medicines were no longer healing, so I would no longer build my vision, and I can no longer have a family. I became so much traumatized and began to find out that my wisdom was doing nothing. So
Mm.
I decided to look for God. This thing called God that people talk about, what maybe if it is there, I used to call him an it. If it is there, then it should help me, and I get relief, because I was so much stressed. I could not tell anyone, because every time I would tell someone, they would gossip about me. So I decided to tell no one, until when I met this prayerful gentleman. And but by the time I met him, my neighbor, I shared with my neighbor that I wanted to talk, to pray, so that I feel that I had prayed. And yet my neighbor had dreamed that I should turn to God. The voice was telling her to tell me to turn to God, but because she used to hear me talk ill about God, she feared telling me. So until I was pressed, and I became so stressed until when I got to her and told her, please, I feel like I want to pray, but I don't know, because I had gone to several churches and I would keep the same. So when I told her I want to pray and feel that I have prayed, she got amazed and surprised to hear me speak that one.
Mm.
So she told me, I have someone I usually pray with. If you could speak with him, maybe, because for me, I also pray with him, maybe he would help you out.
Mm.
And then she gave me his number and called him. But my purpose for calling him again changed, because this time round I wanted that I speak with him, because he is very far. He is not going, even if he goes about me,
Mm.
the people he will go about me with will not be knowing me. So I changed the purpose now. So when I was speaking with him, for me, I was now getting a chance of speaking out my heart, because I had been with a lot of things since childhood. So I spoke and spoke, and later he told me, he said, young man, truth is there is Satan and there is God. But I was hearing a story because still I had not seen this God work. So he told me there is good and there is Satan, and if you commit yourself to this God, he will speak with you. Then when he mentioned the word he will speak with you, this became something new now to me. Does God really speak? Because I wanted to hear him speak.
Yeah.
And then he told me, at times God can speak through his word in the Bible. At times he will speak with you through dreams. And another time he will speak with you through visions. Or he will speak to you through people. And you will hear. But when he speaks with you, you will know that he has spoken with you. So when he mentioned of dreams, and he told me, every time you get a dream, don't just think it is just a dream. You can give me a call and we pray, and God maybe he will help us understand the meaning of that dream. And that I now began hearing new things,
Right.
which I had never heard of since childhood. So this gentleman, after we had spoken and we prayed, I got joy. I didn't know that there was some other power that was coming in. But I got joy, extraordinary joy. But to me, I thought maybe it's because I have spoken my heart. But I was very happy. I felt so happy. And because I had been living through a stressful life for years, I wanted to keep looking for that joy. So my heart told me, if you call this man and you pray with him, you will get joy. So I wanted to keep in that state. So every time I would come from school, I would want to speak with him. So we pray, and so that I get that joy. And actually, every time it happens, I would get that joy. So I became so happy. And I began to dream. I had spent so long without dreaming. And every time I would get a dream and call him, he would interpret it and get the meaning and find them connected with the reality.
Wow.
And then that is when I began to understand that really God is speaking with me. So weeks, no, I think it's like a month, because I totally gave in. During that time, among the dreams, I had a lot of this and all that evil that was filling my heart. The dreams that I got were to drive me into righteousness now. Every money you get, make sure you pay all the debts you have. And then because I had gotten joy with this God, I didn't want to lose it. I wanted to do whatever God says so that I don't lose the joy I had got. Because I had lived the suffering life. So I did everything slowly. And then I began even to get the hidden meaning behind the words of God in the Bible, still through prayer. So I began to know that there is the Holy Spirit, because I began differentiating the physical from the spiritual. And then I began remembering the dreams that I had long time ago.
Right.
One was getting the president come to me for medicine because they had illness and all that. They were a lot, but all rotating medicine. And later is when I was revealed that I was being called to be a prophet. During that time, when this gentleman told me, interpreted this one for me, that I was being called a prophet, I got scared because I had grown up in the Catholic in the Catholic system.
Uh-huh.
One, because we have a lot of fake pastors in my country, and I used to hear things regarding those pastors and some that they would even worship the devil. I got scared. I didn't want to join that system.
Right.
I did not want. So I said, I knelt down and said, God, my God, I don't want to be that. Leave me where I am.
I hear
So, and and then he, unfortunately, he insisted in that every time someone would call me, I would see whatever is happening with them.
you. Right.
So these things I used to challenge. I used to think that people were lying. People say talking about, when someone, most especially people of God, they speak about someone's future or someone's past or what is happening with them. I used to think that they are stage managed,
Yeah.
and yet, so during that time, it shocked me to see that it is happening to me now. So someone would be healed. Sorry, someone would be having an illness, maybe in their lungs or on their legs, whatever, whether they have fractures, and some would be very strangers, and they call me immediately when I receive their call, and then I begin seeing what is happening with them. So I got shocked, and later I began understanding that God is surely bigger than I used to think. So lessons kept on this after this. So everything I used to disagree with, God had to bring it in the reality, and maybe it's so that I could believe fully.
Yeah.
So until when later the message changed into that I was now to be assigned into leadership. I didn't know why, and I had never led anywhere in my life. I remember becoming a class monitor at primary two. I was a small boy, like at around 7 years then, 7, 8 years. So I had never been a leader. Uh, but this time I had understood God, so I accepted.
Mm.
Later, but everyone I used to pray with used to tell me that plants and those things that you are thinking, God is going to get you out of them, and He takes you to a ministry of praying for people so that they be healed. So I knew that my calling is in the healing, but when they would tell me I would be to pray for people and they be healed, my heart would have a reservation.
Mm.
I did not know why, because I didn't have, I had not yet begun reading the Bible. I didn't know anything regarding the Bible, but my heart would reserve. I would feel there should be something more than that.
Right.
But I would not speak, I would accept and just wait for the time. Of course, when people would come, truly I would pray with them and God would heal them. And I would also wonder with them how such would happen. So later is when God connected me to another pastor who is up in our capital city, but I was not going to be with them at their church, but to keep listening to his message. And so through a friend I found, but his message would always speak about me. So I was wondering why. So every time there is a situation about me, the message I would get would be talking about me. And when I would ask exactly how he would be preaching, things would be exactly how the message was speaking. I wondered why. So when I had begun, when I joined his WhatsApp group and kept getting all the messages, I would follow them keenly, knowing that there is a message behind them about me. And during that time, when I just had joined him, the messages that were flowing were about the end times. So he was preaching about the end times, and it was a lot of new things that I had never heard.
Mm.
Then, when he continued there in the middle and showing us the scriptures regarding the end times and the stuff, I know you know about these things. And that's when the voice began speaking about me. Of course, during that time, I had already met Dr. Russ, because this process of salvation started in 2016. And yet, for meeting Paul, was speaking with him was in 2014. Speaking with him for the first time was in 2014. And when I met him, because this thing was in me, the voice was in me, but I wasn't connecting it with the spiritual life at all. I didn't know its relevance in the spiritual life. So I used to think it is a project for helping people, just that. So, you know, as I had told you, I shared with them, because when I came to know that plant medicine can give healing, and that when I met the Dr. Russell Foundation and the staff, I came to confirm those things I used to think, that there are corporations that are behind all this, and came to know the entire problem. Of course, the idea of will help people to garden these medicines and these natural foods in their homes was far behind there in 2011. So I thought, when I get money, I would do it. And later is when I got the idea of, actually, it also came to me just like it, others came. And I decided to start a club at a school where I was teaching. And in our first meeting, I don't remember even that child, but this child, I was wondering how I would get the money. Yeah. So this child says, "Teacher, we can begin getting these seeds from our homes, and we bring them here, we nursery bed them, we will be sharing the seedlings." Mm. I don't know whether it is a child, because I tried looking out for that child. I have never got that child. I don't know whether it also was a strange voice. Right. I don't remember very well, but actually it was a strange one. And that's how we started the School Health Parliament Club project. Mm. So now, connecting it with the spirit was up to when I began listening to the end times message, and then the voice began speaking from deep within me. Gyaviira, from the beginning, before I created you, I brought you to do this work. Then fear began to rise. So what I want you to do is to prepare for the end times. Because the end times, during this time, everyone is being, and everything is being driven into the buying and selling system. You are seeing the money is being digitized and is going to be led into being implanted into people, and people's brains will be driven, and their feeling for God will no longer be there. So you have to create an alternative way how people will live without needing to buy or sell. Mm. And then I saw how he designed everything, the food, the medicine, and the what. I got scared how things were, and things began progressing one after the other. So it's now not a surprise to see that a person is selected in some countries, they are coming, they are trained, and I trained them, and the end we share about the spiritual connection with this work, where people have to be given an alternative system that is outside the buying and selling,
Yeah.
medicine, and all that.
Mm.
And that is it, Denise.
Yes. Yeah. Look,
Mm,
tell
mm.
us, tell us a bit. I mean, it's, you have an amazing story. I could actually cut this up into two and
Mm.
deal with this. But tell us how you came to know Paul and the doctorate the doctorate foundation.
Well, so that is also very miraculous. I began to know that there is cure for incurable diseases. My mind told me then, even before I knew about God, my mind told me either I'm very wise or someone is doing it intentionally. But I had never confirmed.
Right.
So I decided. So the drive was within me, and I didn't know why. The drive was within me that I should help people and tell them that there is cure for these incurable diseases. That's why I used to tell people, bring me people who have diseases that don't have cure. And they are the ones I use to prepare plant medicine and give to them. So I would share everything I would get, these plants, the foods, the what, I would share them on Facebook. So there is one Facebook friend who comes from, forgetting these countries in Asia. That gentleman who is called Kai Light. He had, I think he had attended one of the conferences organized by the Dr. Russ Health Foundation. So he saw me post those medicines and how they can heal and how to prepare them. I used to have regular posts regarding that. So one time he inboxed me and stated, "It seems you love biology." And I said, "I love it so much." So I gave him a simple background about why I decided to love this stuff and how I entered into the medicine thing. So when I shared with him and how I make sure that people get natural treatment, because I think people are dying and there are people who are intending that they die with diseases that are incurable. Then he said, what you are doing has a relationship with people for whom I attended their conference, and it is called Dr. Russ Health Foundation. And then he said, I think if you contacted them, they would help you to build your career. So that's why how he shared with me their website. So when he shared it with me, I still was fearing because when everyone called during that time, I had kind of become a racist because I used to think that all whites want black people to die, and I used to think that they want black people to die. It seems that's why I used to think that maybe for them those diseases are not there; they are here only.
Mm.
So I was fearing sharing with them anything. So I just went to their website and then go to their email address and wrote to them. Hi, they told me this gentleman so and so told me you guys do natural things. I also have been trying to do it for my people and the staff. So a day later, I was replied to by then he was called Jose. Jose, I don't know whether you know him. He was the international coordinator for the movement of life then.
Okay.
So he replied to me, to my email, and requested that we talk on phone. So on our phone talk is when they suggested that that I become a volunteer for sharing such information I join with any others who are doing things, projects of the same kind, so that we begin sharing more and more. And that is how I began. I formed the Facebook page, but it kept boring me because my thought was we to do something on the ground. These people have to begin knowing, because here in Africa, people began demonizing plants and foods and saying that those are for the witches.
Mm.
So, and of course, I didn't know about the spiritual connection. I didn't know that they even are talked about in the Bible. I didn't know anything then,
Yeah.
but I had that one. So I thought but people are dying. If these people, this who had asthma, they got healed. The other one had pressure. The other one was diabetic. The other one had cancer, and they have gotten healed. Why can't we have these plants planted in their home? Right. So I used to, in my first days, I brought this idea to Paul, but because they had gotten a bad experience in South Africa, okay, they kind of resisted it. Yeah. And maybe thought I needed money. But for me, it wasn't the case. I needed people to be around me as well, so that we maybe could give me that support. Yeah. So when during those first times, because I was very hungry for the scientific background of medicine, of plant-based medicine and foods, I had to go. When I found that they had an online course, it was very impressive for me. I had to do that course, to do the advanced course, and I was very equipped now. Yes. So this time round, people could no longer ask me, and I feed it like before. This time round, even things I used to think, I found them having a scientific explanation. So the things that the Holy Spirit had built in me were now getting confirmed by science. I got very amazed. And later I decided to say, even if these people are not interested in doing the practical things in the community and what, let me start it. So when the child brought an idea that we can get the seeds from their home, this relieved me of all the stress of thinking that I needed money. So the money was eliminated. Seeds were going to be brought for free, and they were going to be nursery bedded for free at school. Right. So I found no reason for needing money. So what we did, I said, when we started and we began making nursery beds and children were collecting seeds and I was sharing pictures with them, I requested them to help me and send me books, health-related books, so that they be gifts for the children. Right. Such that when it brings the seeds, I give them a gift of a book. And that's how, so gradually, I think God was training me to be stable, to learn more and more how to handle some things, not even to be greedy, so that money cannot corrupt me and all that. Until when I was
that is actually amazing, because that's God, isn't it? That's a download from God. That's the wisdom of God. So tell us now, what is the project that you're working on, and how it has progressed through the years? Because now it's basically exploded, isn't it?
Denise, when I got to know that God speaks, it's I no longer suffer with thinking. So I decided, when I won't trust human, I will always run to God to speak with me. And before he speaks with me, I can't act. That's what I promised him from the beginning. Right. So because I had gotten that idea of structuring the project through the school, and the voice was always telling me, you have to teach these children, and you tell them to teach their children. that they should not allow implants, and some would later come through vaccinations and all that. And those who will allow to listen to that message, you advise them to have a system of having natural foods because they are the ones which can be sustainable, and they learn to know about the medicines that are sustainable so that they be able to live without necessarily needing to buy or sell. And the whole project was formulated on Revelation 13, 16 to 18. Where the Bible says that everyone will be made to accept the mark of the beast, and those who won't allow it will not be able to buy or sell. And so during the process, I knew that the mark of the beast was a system of buying and selling. So all we are surprising me to know these secrets, knowing that there is a system that is being weaved, and the season is ripening now and again. So I now turn to getting the wisdom of how to do it. So I would be led to different schools. So I could not find a problem in going to schools until when we had reached to 50 schools, and that were trained and functional, and then 16 that were not yet functional but had been recruited. So a total of 66 schools.
Right, but you want to tell us what the program actually is? What is it that you do with the kids?
Well, so what we do in schools, one, we identify the natural fruits, the natural vegetables, the natural food, the natural medicine species that can grow in that area. Because we later found out that the plants grow where they grow because God put there what can make them survive there.
Yeah.
So what we do in that area, when we have identified them, we request children to bring seeds of those very plants. Because one, seeds in the market are modified, so they are made not to multiply, not to be propagated artificially.
Yeah.
Of course, the reason for having that eliminated is to drive food to the buying and selling system.
Yes, of course, of course.
Yeah. So we decided to get these seeds from the community. Now, these children bring the seeds at school. They are nursery bedded. So when this club is formed with its leadership structures formed and trained, so they began, and then the club structures has that the seed banking system, where the seeds are brought, then recorded, then when they are dried, they are nursery bedded at the school. So whether the school has a lot of land, it's a big advantage. When it has small land, we use whatever resources there, like we can use sacks and all that. Then they are nursery bedded. Then the seedlings planted at school. After planting at school, the practice continues. The seedlings are shared among the students and among the staff members to take to their homes. So they begin taking to their homes to plant. When they have done and given to all, and these children are satisfied that they all have got, they begin sharing to communities like churches that are in the neighboring and the staff.
Wow.
So at the moment, soon you will they will publish a video that we recently filmed about what the children are doing. So we decided to go and see whether they are doing these things in their homes, and it's really amazing. Of course, this is not our power; it is God's power.
Yes.
He's driving them. So it's very amazing what they are doing.
Yeah,
And they
you,
actually it's becoming a source of living
yeah.
for most families now. So that is how it is structured in the school system. Then for
Is
community,
Gyaviira, that is something that can be translated into, you know, church projects, and not just schools, but that could be done in churches or groups of communities or little networks that people could start and do things like that all around the world. So that model is definitely, you know, a download from God to be able to, and fun, because you know that whole process seemed like something fun. It doesn't seem like a tedious something that people do, so you can literally turn it into something that is fun, that, you know,
mm,
to get people involved and motivated to do. So yes, sorry, I just had to add in that part, but you continue, you were talking about the community.
yes, surely, like you were saying, this is very much, it can easily be done in the church system. Only that I had never been sent there. Actually, I was sent to prisons. That's why, for the very first church we worked with, uh, 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 we took the seedlings there, and I didn't follow it up because I needed to wait for the Holy Spirit to give me a go ahead. I
Mm,
don't know why he had not told me to go there. If he had told me, it is also done there,
yeah,
very much possible. But so everyone who is willing, let's say they are church leaders and they are willing, it is a very simple system, very simple. And it doesn't need one to have land, because in those families, we use just the veranda and we do that. If I could take you around my home now, we use everything that is available. So it would be a very ideal, and the church could potentially do this. So I was telling you how the community project system is
yeah.
formulated for when actually when I was sent to the prisons required us to have an NGO. Then we didn't have one. We were doing it almost locally, everything. So they required us to have an NGO. So we reserved the NGO status this December, no, November last year.
Okay.
So just have had an NGO. So before that, when all schools were locked down, and my heart was like, now God, what do I do? I have to sit down and wait. And the idea came, and the idea came that you can go to the communities, and this time round choose one family on a village. So
Mhm.
what we do, we choose family on the village, we train them, and they do exactly like it's done at school. So what we do, we train them, but having contacted the local leaders, we go to the local leaders, and then we begin to make them as a demonstration home. So
Mhm.
they begin having the seeds nursery bedded, they begin sharing, they plant at their homes, and we may help them to make the medicine. You know, a lot of wisdom came, medicines for curing plant diseases, curing animal diseases, and all can even be eaten. And we spray them using the eatable medicine, and it's all amazing,
Excellent,
Denise.
excellent. Oh my goodness. This is,
Yeah.
yeah, sorry. Continue, continue.
Yeah, so when I later said, what hasn't God showed us how to live without needing to buy? I think it's nothing, almost everything. We've had wisdom regarding that. So they do the same, making those manure and medicines and what, and that is how we came up, and the community project is growing. And now later, a lady contacted the Dr. Russell Foundation, a lady in Malawi, and by default, I hear Paul say, Gyaviira, you are the one who is a pioneer in this, so I'm giving someone. Then till I know that God has brought another minister.
Yeah.
So, so when a minister comes, this is in Malawi, they have already started as well. Actually, they started when there is a lockdown. So for them, have started with the community project. They are growing. Of course,
Wow.
when I showed them how it is a ministry and they are no longer playing with it. So later, now a gentleman from Zimbabwe recently came. We are undergoing training. Actually, you have another lesson tomorrow. We are training. I train them through the cellular medicine course, and then later show them the spiritual connection of this and the purpose of it, the real purpose of it. Then Paul told me last week that a lady in Netherlands came up who decided to start in Netherlands. I don't know how that will progress. Then another gentleman from Sierra Leone also wanted to. So God is bringing ministers from everywhere in the world,
Yeah.
and here we are. And so every time I see what you are doing, I say, okay, God, you are great.
Oh, this is really awesome stuff. And thank you so much. You take care,
Thank
and
you.
may God continue to bless and increase your ministry. I hear your heart. It is not just something you're doing because it's available. I know your heart is in it. And I think, God will continue to bless and increase it. Bless the works of your hand. Everything you put your hand to do, He is going to prosper. Yes, I'm excited and I feel privileged that I do know you. And thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
It's my blessing. It's me. I'm so humbled by that statement. I thank God for everything. So it's not me. I
Uh,
thank Him, and I thank Him for deciding to help us.
mm,
And if we could get anyone who can embrace this message, it is a blessing.
yes.